Audra.
Hi.
So before we get started today, I want to go over some base foundation of therapy before we start. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so a really important part of therapy is confidentiality. Do you know much about confidentiality?
Yeah, like the HIPAA forms that I sign all the time at the doctor.
Oh, yeah. Well, in therapy, confidentiality means that everything that we share in this room is confidential. But there are some instances where I'd have to break confidentiality. And those instances are if you told me that you were going to hurt yourself or hurt someone else. So if you told me that you were planning on killing yourself, I would have to take the appropriate steps to make sure that you were safe.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And another instance where I would have to break confidentiality is if you told me that you or someone you knew was hurting or neglecting 3 different populations. And those populations are children, elders, and dependent adults. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. And a third instance that it's not really breaking confidentiality, but where I would have to share some things inside this room is because I am not actually a licensed psychologist, but I'm working under, my supervisor is a licensed psychologist, so there will be some instances where I will have to report some things that we talk about to best treat and come up with a treatment plan for you so that you're getting the best services. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So before we start on why you're here today, I want to take I want to ask you a couple quick questions that we ask all our patients, and it's just to gauge where you are, and so that we can compare it to your mental capabilities if something bad were to happen. So say if you got in a car accident, we can compare if anything was damaged or anything.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're just a quick couple questions, nothing too challenging, so you'll do great. So what is today's date?
It is November 30th.
And what is the year?
2017.
And what month is it?
November.
And what is the day? Like, is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday?
Thursday.
And can you tell me what season it is?
It's winter.
And do you know where we are? Like, what place you're at is called?
It's a clinic.
Do you know what floor we're on?
The first one.
And what city are we in?
Los Angeles.
And what county are we in?
Los Angeles County.
And what state are we in?
California.
Okay, so I'm going to read back 3 words to you, and I would like you to repeat them back to me after I've said them all. Okay?
Okay.
The words are ball, flag, and tree.
Ball, flag, and tree.
Okay, the next thing is I want you, as best as you can, to count back from 100 by 7 and just go as far as you can, like 5 or 6 times.
Okay. So starting with 100. 93. 86. 78. 70. Do I need to run another one?
Yeah, one more,
Okay.
please.
I lost count.
You're at 70.
62.
Okay, great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to say a word, and as best as you can you spell it backwards for me?
Yeah.
Okay. The word is world.
Okay. DLROW.
Okay. Do you remember the 3 words that I told you earlier?
Ball, flag, and tree.
And what would you call this?
A pencil.
And what would you call this?
A water bottle.
Now I'm going to hand you a piece of paper, and I want you to take it with your dominant hand, fold it in half, and then place it on the floor when you're ready. Now I want you to read this and follow the command. And now, can you please write a sentence on this piece of paper, please? Thank you. And then can you please copy this image as best you can? Great. So that's it for the questions. Now, what brought you in today?
Sorry, I've just been so tired lately. Well, my good friend actually suggested I come here and see you because I haven't been the same since my diagnosis of cancer 2 years ago. I went through a lot, and I'm just not sure about these changes that are happening in my life. I feel like I'm a totally different person, and at the age of 49, that's very, it's like my whole life just turned upside down, 50 years into my life, and I'm just having a really hard time.
Yeah, I can see that. I can really hear it in your voice.
Yeah, I guess what my friends are worried about the most is my divorce. I know I loved him, but ever since my diagnosis, things just haven't been the same, and I don't know, I don't want to just keep doing things just because I just feel like my outlook on life is different, and I don't want to be with him anymore. It's just really hard because I ever since 30 years ago when we had kids, I've been a stay-at-home mom. But from then on, and I don't really have any financial stability to be away from him because he's always supported me financially, and it's hard because he doesn't want me to leave. It just makes it even harder. I just don't have the energy to do any of this anymore.
So can you tell me more about how you came to that decision? I know you said that you went through all these huge life changes and it made you really reevaluate, but what specific things came to your mind that made you decide that you didn't want to be with him?
I just feel like, you read these stories about how these spouses stay with their husband or their wives after a horrible accident, and they take care of them, and it's this lovely, beautiful story, and that just wasn't my experience. I didn't feel like he he understood what was going on or what was happening. It's like he didn't take it seriously. And I felt so alone through all of my procedures, through the surgeries, through the chemo, and I think he just expected things to be normal, and I didn't have the energy to be around him, to be a wife, to even do a dish. He didn't understand.
When you say he didn't like he thought things were going to be normal, you said, do you mean during, while you were going through treatment?
Yeah. And I just have a hard time even being with him now. I can't even, I just feel like he looks at me differently. I haven't been able to have sex with him at all. I can't, just especially with the mastectomy. Ever since then, I feel like he pretends like everything's okay and pretends like it's fine, but it really bothers him. So not only was he just not there for me, and now he just looks at me different, like I'm less of a woman now. Like our kids are grown, and it's just us in the house, and I want to get away, and I can't, and it's all really confusing. I just feel very confused.
Yeah, it sounds like a very confusing experience. Does he say those things to you, like that he doesn't want to be with you, or is that just a feeling that you have, that he is maybe non-verbally communicating?
Well, I mean, he wants to stay together. He doesn't want to get divorced, and I mean, he doesn't. I've already filed for divorce, but he even offered to let me stay in the house. He still wants to be together. He just doesn't want to change. He's just comfortable with me. I don't feel like, he's never said it, but I just don't feel like, he just doesn't want to be alone. He just doesn't want change. And I don't feel like the person I was when I was with him, and now I don't want to be with him because I'm not that same person. I'm not his wife anymore. I'm not that woman that he's been married to for 26 years. It's just not me anymore.
Yeah. Well, I would love to hear more about your experience with your diagnosis and that process for you, and how that created such a change within you, and how you have all this new insight now. I'd love to hear how that journey's been for you.
It's been really confusing. When I was first diagnosed, it was like my life came to an end. My kids are off, and they've gone through college, and they have their own families, and it was just us. And then I just felt like, oh, well, I guess this is how life ends. I guess this is it. And it was horrible. I felt so alone. And I felt like a big piece of me was just gone. And I was already half dead. And it really was very hard on me, the actual surgeries and the chemo. Thankfully, it was just stage 1, and after about a year, they got it under control, and it's been in remission, and I've been doing really well. And then I found a support group, and that's really changed a lot of the way I feel and I think, because I just have such a pride when I'm with these women that we're survivors, and we've gone through this, and they know exactly what I was feeling, being all alone, and a lot of them, their husbands were not supportive and not there for them, but we were there for each other. And I got this great camaraderie, and we started volunteering together. I volunteer at a community center for cancer survivors, and I do a lot of volunteer work, and I absolutely love it. And I just feel like this new person with this new vigor in life, and then I go home and I'm like, this isn't my home. Like this isn't me anymore, and I want to get away, and I can't, because there's so much that has to change.
Yeah. So you've talked about how this change within yourself and within your relationship with your husband, how that has really affected you and confused you. But can you talk about more how it's made you feel?
I just wish he would be angry and just let me go and just be done with me, but he doesn't even care. He doesn't care that I filed for divorce. He doesn't care that I want to leave him. I mean, he's told me how much he wants me to stay, but there's no passion in it. There's no love. He just doesn't want to change. And our sons have no idea what's going on. He pretends like everything's fine when they come to visit or when we visit for holidays, and I just don't have the energy. I wish I could just leave, and I don't have the energy. I don't have the finances to leave him, and it's so hard because I feel like I'm torn between this survivor I've become and then the just slow and tired and dull person that I am because of my past, because of my marriage to him.
So you're saying that you consider yourself to be a dull person right now? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it comes and goes, but it'll last for, like, I just get into these phases where for a couple weeks to months, it's usually when he does or says something, or I think about, or I have nightmares about the surgeries and the chemo that I can't sleep, but I want to sleep all day, and then I don't even have the energy to talk to him, to look at him, to do anything. I mean, sometimes I just sit and stare at a wall for hours because I just can't find the energy to do anything. But then, I'll go and do volunteer work, and I'll go to my support group. I'll go to, my doctor's appointment's just fine, and I'm all right again, and I'm okay for a little while, and then.
What do you mean by a little while? Like, how long are you, when you come out of this moment of feeling like you can't do anything, how long does that typically last?
Oh, a couple months. It's usually longer than the sadness, but sometimes the sadness will come and go, and then other times it's just like I've sunk into a hole that I can't get out of.
Mm-hmm. And how long do those times typically last, the sadness?
Sometimes a couple weeks. The worst one was a couple months. That was before the separation actually happened. So I've been feeling better every step that I take. It's been taking me so long to make these changes that I want to change. Like, I want to be able to work. But I'm 50 years old. I just feel like there's so many barriers that start to come up, and then I don't have the energy to fix them, and I'm just caught in this conundrum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, how have you been feeling since that you've made a decision about filing for a divorce? Like, have you felt some sense of relief, or are you still feeling confused and sad and stuck?
I think my divorce is the only thing that I feel really sure about. I feel like he's the biggest weight that's holding me back from moving on, but I mean, there's still, my kids and my grandkids, and there's still the fact that I have to start over and get a job after 30 years of not having one, and I have to find a place. I haven't lived on my own ever. I went from, being going to college, living with my parents, to moving in with my husband and having children. I've never lived on my own before, and it's just the whole process is daunting, and it makes me sad. But then I get really, I'll go to a meeting and I'll feel better, and I feel like I'm a survivor and I can do anything and I can make it happen. And then the sadness sets in again. It's really hard. I feel very torn. And that the only thing I'm sure about is the divorce.
Okay. Well, it sounds that the support group really lends you a huge amount of empowerment and positive energy in your life. And I'm really glad to hear that you have the support group and working in the community center.
Yeah, I don't know what I would do without these women. I haven't had such a powerful and close relationship with someone. I don't think ever. I mean, this is just all new and amazing, and I'm close with these women, and then my one really good friend, she's amazing, and I have these feelings that I've never felt before, and it's just so weird. I feel like this totally new person that I don't quite know yet. But the person I know I don't want to be because I'm just always so. I think she died when I got cancer. I mean, that's just how I feel. But she's still me. I don't know. I'm having a really hard time coming to terms with all of this.
Yeah. So would you say that you're not how can I word this? Do you feel stuck? Like, I know you say you're confused on like this change that's happened in your life, but do you think your sadness holds you back from trying to pursue new things in life?
That's it. That's exactly it. I feel like I could be this new person if I could just get rid of this old person and just move on. But every time I try to take a step forward, I feel like I'm being dragged backwards by this lack of person. I just feel like sometimes am just like this blue little cloud. And
Tell me more about. I'm really interested in that blue little cloud. Tell me more about what all entails the blue little cloud.
well, usually it's set off by something my husband says or does or doesn't do. Or sometimes it's, I'm trying to look for a job and I just get so discouraged, and then I tell myself, okay, well, let's work on something else, and then I just can't. I want so badly to be able to do these things, but then I just end up sitting on the couch and staring into nothing for hours. I just can't find the energy to even lift my head up, and it's like all my energy goes out the door. My motivation to do anything just ceases, and I just want to sleep, and then I can't sleep, and
so when you say these periods happen, it takes a couple weeks to get out of it, and even maybe sometimes a couple months.
yeah, it just sucks the life out of me, and then takes away all of my time. And it's making it very hard for me to move on and be the person I really enjoy being when I'm in my support group. It's getting to the point even where I've missed a meeting or two, and that's even more.
Yeah, because that brings so much joy, it sounds like, and positive energy into your life, so that when you can't go, it must really discourage you even more.
I just feel, when I get these ways, I feel really guilty. Like I don't want to bring that into the room of these powerful women who have overcome so much, and I feel really ashamed that I feel like I'm almost leading a double life, and I don't want them to see that. I want them to see the new me that I love being, and when I get these ways, I can't even face them. I haven't. Besides just my one really good friend that I'm close to, she's the one who suggested I come here, and she's the only one who knows. And even then, I won't let her see me when I'm like that. I can't. I feel so ashamed and guilty that I would be like that. I don't like being like that.
Yeah, it sounds so hard to try to keep that all to yourself. Sounds like a lot. Do all these feelings kind of come together at the same time? The feelings that you're exhausted and sad and you can't do anything and you're just so tired and can't sleep. Do they all kind of happen at the same time and last for the same amount of length?
yeah, it's like it's like these long waves where I'll have the motivation, and then something will happen and I'll lose it, and then all the other stuff comes on, and I'll just be that way for weeks, up to a month or two, and then one day I'll get up and I'll be like, okay, I think I can do this, and it's usually around the time that I have my meetings are coming up. I can usually manage, but the past couple months I've missed one or two, and that's just one or two that I can't afford to miss.
Well, missing meetings, it's a very normal thing to do, and that's a normal human thing to have happen. Is yes, you don't make it to all of them, but it makes me happy to hear that you have this other supportive resource for yourself that you can go to bring you out of these periods of where you feel like you are just so sad and just can't do it.
I'm just worried that I feel like it's getting worse, and it's lasting longer, and I'm missing meetings, I'm missing out on job opportunities, I'm missing out on house hunting opportunities, and I can't live my life like this. I'm afraid it's going to get to the point where I can't move at all, and then I'll just be stuck in my old house with my old husband and just be a vegetable. I'm horrified of that thought.
So you've said that your husband will usually trigger these moments of sadness by either something he says or doesn't say. I'm really interested to hear more about your relationship with him. May I ask what his name is? I don't think you've said.
Paul.
Paul? Okay. How's your entire relationship with Paul been? Like, when did you meet? How did you meet? How has your relationship kind of developed throughout the 25 years you've been married?
Yeah, I mean, we met in college, and we got married right in my senior year. He's a couple years older than I am, so he had already graduated and had a really good job, and we got married. 9 months later, had a kid.
Okay.
And then a couple years after that, my two wonderful sons. And
what are their names?
Josh and Jason.
Okay.
Yeah. And they're great. They're leading good lives, but I feel like I never did anything with my degree, which I don't regret at all. I enjoyed my time at school, but then I became a full-time mom, and I loved it. I did. Now the thought of it is silly to me, because I feel like, I don't know, we had a great relationship, but it was very much, your typical, get married, have kids, and go to barbecues, and a very, kind of, I hate to say it, but mediocre life. I did volunteer work that I really enjoyed, but was on went to PTA meetings, and I did that life, and now looking back on it, I want to move on, and I want something new, and I want something different. This, the cancer was it was devastating to me, and now that I've gone through that and come out the other side of it, a survivor, I want something more. And I know my sons are grown, and they support me, and it's just hard because none of them, even my boys, they have no idea about the divorce, because I know that I can barely keep my husband at, soon to be ex-husband at bay to keep me around, and I know that they'll just make it worse because they don't want change. They're afraid of this change in me, and I can't be brought down by them anymore. I've done my duty, I've raised my kids, I've been a good wife, and now it's time for me to move on.
So tell me more about your sons and how that was for you to be a mom.
I really loved it. It's what I've always dreamed of happening, find a wonderful man, and he's a great man.
Paul?
Yes, he is. He's wonderful. He was a great husband and a wonderful father. And I loved being a mom. I loved everything about it. driving them to football practice and picking them up from school and consoling them when girls would break their hearts. And I really did. It was who I was for a very long time. And then, they went to school, they found their own wives, wonderful women. I'm really thankful that they have such great wives in their lives. And then, I guess I never imagined my life turning out the way it did. I thought it was just so, oh, this is the way things work, and this is how, me and Paul are going to just live out our lives together and take care of the grandkids and knit sweaters. And I never imagined I could be this person. Yeah. I never imagined getting cancer and it changing me like this. When I got diagnosed, I really thought it was, I guess this is how my life ends.
Can you talk more about your medical history with me? Have you ever had other complications or illnesses in your life that required treatment?
No, besides when I was little, I broke my arm once playing tennis, and that was it. I was never very sick. I had got pneumonia once when I was little, and I was never sickly, no big injuries. I'd been healthy in my whole life, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I as far as I can piece together, I don't have a family history, and it really came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was a huge wrench because you had this plan, you're just gonna live out your life, you had raised your kids, now it was time to just knit and get old, and then you got the diagnosis of cancer.
Yeah, it felt like a death sentence. I really thought I was going to die. I thought, this is it. This is the end. I had no idea it was going to be a beginning. And I think, I kind of was like, okay, I'm done. This is it. I'm just going to suffer until my last breath. And then I came out the other side, and now what? Now what am I supposed to do? Now I have this old life I'm dragging around with me, and this new life, this new person I want to be. I just don't know what to do.
Well, have you ever, now that you're coming in to see me, have you ever had any previous mental challenges? Like, have you ever felt this way before your diagnosis? Like, of feeling sad and lack of motivation? And did you have any other times that you came for treatment?
No, I've never been seen before. I've never even been to a group before for the cancer. We'd get in us moms would get in our little circles and have our book clubs, but that was it. I'd never been seen for anything before, never had these problems before.
So you've never felt this sad for this long? Okay.
This is, going through life, there's sad times, but it's like this sadness is different somehow. Like, it's just more of a weight rather than I'm gonna cry and be sad and then be okay. It's I'm never gonna be okay again. Just heavy weight. It's not even worth moving, not even worth anything. It's different.
Do you have any insight to why that might be? Why it's not the same as normal sadness? Because before you said you were experiencing sadness, but this is just it's more of, would you say, more of a state of mind? Is that what you're trying to say?
I mean, I definitely can say that it's sadness, but not in the sense of I can just cry and get over it. It's heavier. It's more depressing. It's more weighing me down, pushing me down. Like, I'm just so heavy I can't move. Yeah, it takes more out of me than just being sad over something.
And have you ever tried any other I know you've said that you've gotten a lot of support from the women's group. Have you ever tried to take other ways to make yourself feel better, like alcohol or any medications? Have you ever used anything to try to make yourself feel better?
No, I'm deathly afraid of taking anything or doing anything outside of my strict diet and medications that I take.
Oh, okay.
I've heard stories about um, alcohol abuse and drug abuse and how that can bring the cancer back, and
Okay.
I would never do any of those things.
Okay. And in your intake form, I saw that you put that you're Roman Catholic. Has your religion helped you at all with your diagnosis and your treatment?
It's done the exact opposite, and that's another thing that it just makes this even more confusing. We were always that family. The kids were dressed, and we were at mass every Sunday, and
Okay.
I would go to the women's prayer group on Wednesday nights religiously, literally. I've never missed one throughout my life, and I've religion was always a huge part of our life, and our church was huge, like a second family. And now, when I was diagnosed, I just felt like they turned their back on me.
Mm.
I tried to make time to see my priest in between my treatments, and he wasn't comforting at all. He wasn't helpful at all, was not willing to meet me on my own terms. And now I know with the divorce, they're just going to alienate me even more, and I haven't been to church in months.
And how has that been for you? I mean, it's something that's been in your life for a long time, and now that you haven't been getting that support, has that been difficult for you?
It has. Again, it's just this kind of confusing, who am I now? Because this was just, I never imagined this happening. That was the one thing in my life that was never going to change. And now everything's different. And I'm thankful that I have the support of the other survivors.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I would do without them, because I just can't face my congregation anymore. I can't face my old friends my old church friends. I can't.
And you think this is because of your separation with Paul?
Yes.
Okay.
I just haven't felt the same about my church ever since
Yeah.
the diagnosis, and it's been waning ever since. But definitely now that I've decided to separate from Paul, I just feel like now it's not even an option. That I just can't turn to my religion anymore. Like, I feel like I died when I got diagnosed, and now I'm dead to God. That's how I feel.
But you could think of it as that you're being reborn in a new way. That surviving cancer, you're being born again, and you're finding yourself again, and you're going to these great women's group that are empowering you, and you're rediscovering yourself. And in that time, it is completely challenging and understandably so to feel confused and like you've lost yourself in a sense. But it sounds like you have a lot of other positive factors going on for you. Earlier you talked about how you were a grandma, and I would love to hear more about your sons and their families, and what have they been? I know they don't know about the divorce or the separation, but how have they been through the cancer diagnosis and the treatment?
They were supportive, but they both live pretty far now.
Okay.
Their jobs took them pretty far away. They still visit. They usually try to make it to at least one holiday a year. And they were definitely supportive at first, but no one was there for me. And I couldn't. There were days where I was so sick I couldn't answer the phone, and I mean, they're great, and they they express their love to me all the time, and they're supportive. But it wasn't the same. And it was hard for me too. I felt, I'm really guilty because I'd taken care of them their whole lives, and I was this steady rock that was never going anywhere. And then I had to face my own death, and I feel like I kind of maybe pushed them aside a little bit more than I would have liked, just because I was afraid. I didn't, I was afraid of leaving them and hurting them. And now that I'm alive, it's really hard for me to face them and pretend like everything's okay. And it just takes a lot out of me. And I don't talk to them as much as I used to before the cancer, and I don't see the kids as much. And
the grandkids.
Yeah.
How many grandkids do you have?
3.
Okay. What are their names?
Well, these new age kids, with all these interesting names, it's JC, spelled with a couple E's and I's, and Jared, spelled also differently. I'll have to spell them for you. They're very interesting.
Okay.
And then Zeba. One of my sons and his wife, they do a lot of mission trips. And, that's an adopted child from Africa. So.
Okay, and they work through the church.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They haven't, like I said, they live on the East Coast now,
Okay.
and they do mission trips through their church, and they adopted a little girl. She's adorable.
And how? I mean, I know they live far away, but how do you like that role as a grandma? Is that relatively new? How old are your grandkids?
Well, the oldest one is 10.
Okay.
And then 5 and 8.
Okay.
So I've seen, I loved it. I loved being a grandma, and I still do. That was, again, this, I was like, okay, I'm going to go through my life now and be a grandma and do the grandma thing, and I really did love it. I did. And then,
but there's that change.
Yeah. Cancer changed everything, and I feel I'm really thankful that their other grandparents are more involved in their life. And that's another thing I'm afraid of is, they come to visit and things are fine. But I'm just so worried that they're going to visit during one of these times when I'm just not feeling myself, and I won't have the energy to put on the brave face. And I'm finding that energy less and less. I just can't put on that brave face anymore. Don't have the energy for it anymore, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Sounds really difficult and super exhausting to try to put on that front so that no one sees what's really going on.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear more about your best friend, who's been super supportive, you said, but she recommended you coming here. Can you tell me more about her?
She's so wonderful. I was already recovering when she was starting to come in. She had just finished another surgery. She had to have quite a few. But she was, I kind of took to her right away. It was just something about her. And I don't know, it's so strange because I've never felt this type of connection with a friend like this before. It's almost like I'm in love with her. And it is just, I don't even know how to put these feelings into words or these thoughts into words. I just know that when I'm around her, it's like she awakens the new and empowered and powerful survivor in me, and I love the way I feel around her, and I'm always laughing and smiling, and I just want to be so close to her. It's a feeling I've never felt before, and it's different from my other friendships, and I don't know if that's because I'm just, I'm this different person, or if I'm just so confused. I really don't know how to feel about any of it.
What's her name?
Janine.
Janine? would you consider you said that you feel really connected with her and you always want to be around her. Would you consider these like romantic feelings or just a very close kindred spirit type of feelings?
I just don't know, because there's moments where, we're sitting close to each other and I look at her and I just get this strange thought of, I just want to kiss her.
Mm.
And it kind of takes me aback, like where is this coming from? Who am I right now? I get very confused.
And have you ever had attractions towards women before?
Never.
Okay. So this is all new feelings just adding to what you've been going through since your diagnosis and surviving. It's just your identity is changing in so many different ways, and that now you're maybe feeling some romantic feelings for your friend.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess that's what it is. I've never felt this way before, and I'm afraid that I'm just confused, and maybe this isn't really me, and I'm just, I feel so down about my old life and I want it to change, that I'm afraid that I'm compensating and just going crazy on the other end because I want so desperately to move on.
So you talk about wanting to move on and wanting to change and wanting to be this new person because the old you is dead. Can you describe what the perfect new life and the perfect new you of who you want to be looks like?
I want to know that my ex-husband and my sons and my family's going to be fine, and that they support me, and that they'll be okay with the new person that I am.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with that knowledge, like, it'll be so helpful for me to be, I want to work at the women's clinic. I want to, I want to maybe even become a therapist so I can run these group meetings, and I want to devote my life to these survivors. What little life I have left. That's what I really want.
And have you ever shared with Janine what you want in your new self, that you want to apply to work at the Women's Center? Do you share these feelings with anyone else?
We've definitely talked about, we were always coming up with ideas of new events we could do, and we put together a lot of fundraisers, and we work together on a lot of projects for the center, but it's all volunteer. So it's just, I just need to find the energy to figure out how I can make this a job.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about it a little bit, but it's just every time I think about what I need to do to change, try and find a job, try and, find a new place to live, it just brings me down again. And it's just really hard to actually make these changes happen because I just keep getting sad.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think that if you want to move on from here, that we could find ways to help alleviate what you're feeling and to help you start to get out of that blue cloud and to really discover who you are as a new person, as a new empowered woman with this new identity. So if it would be okay with you, I'd love to continue this with future sessions to really dive down deep into what you're going through and what you're feeling, and ways we can move through this together. How does that sound to you?
That sounds great.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.